Very quickly. Okay. We got excited about this when we had our VIA community meeting for 2019 because we've had to think about new projects. Last year we did the 9 projects of installing the boats and bringing up the nautical history of the island and keeping it, you know, vibrant that way. So the projects we talked about this year were not only the Gateway project and getting involved with Viacom, having a conversation with them last week. They are excited about coming there, volunteering, along with local volunteers, because last year we had an enormous amount of locals that volunteered for VIA Community Day, and I think it really just, it brought everybody out, and I think it was just a feel-good, overall feel-good day. And this is going to be a long-term project, so we thought to boost it, the first day would be in May is when the VIA Community Day is going to be, and I think we're going to have the opportunity to do a formal presentation at a future civic meeting. But I put some flyers together if anybody wants to get involved, and it would be a cleanup. Maybe even if we had cleaned it up enough, we can start doing some planting. But that would be VIA Community and their involvement with Gateway. So if this does go through, the first launch would be to start physically cleaning up the property with that day, and then long-term, the community has to, all these different organizations in the community have to stay involved. So I just wanted to...
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so Tom's going to say some words about this, and then you're going to take some questions.
Yeah, we had discussed at our last Civic Executive Board meeting getting involved, and I offered, because I'm also on Community Board 10 with Maria, to be the civic representative, so I hope that would be okay with you guys. Because what I mentioned before you arrived, between the civic and the chamber, we have a fund that the movie companies, when they do shoots up here, they donate money, and we have $13,605. Now, it has to be the membership here plus the chamber agree, but it's my suggestion that we use that, at least in the early for the early phases, doing a garden. And I actually came up with the thought of maybe we could have that money could be spent to put a gazebo in there, because you know a lot of small towns in the town center have these little gazebos, and that's my idea. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Calm down. All right, so we're running late, so we're going to take some questions. This will not be ended tonight. This will be continued. So if we don't get to your questions, folks, it is after 9. So
will there be time for new business?
I'm sorry?
Is there time for new business?
Well, we're running really late, and we're going to discuss it. Well, we'll discuss it. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, I don't have a question, more of a statement. I see all this development. Thank you for the presentation. I don't think we should even discuss property that's not, we don't know if it's the city owns it or it's personal property. The area that the DOT does own right now, when someone bought a dog park, it was all ready to be developed. So we could ask the DOT to maybe do a passive park with plantings and that. I mean, everyone would like that cleaned up. And do something like that for now that could happen right away, just like the dog park could have happened. I have a concern for all that activity there, coming over the bridge, making a left turn. They narrowed that road, and my concern is more for the safety of islanders and visitors alike, for fire department, police, any type of activity, because we've seen what has happened on City Island when they can't get through. And I think that's like trying to take 10 pounds of potatoes and put it in a 5-pound bag. And I don't think it's something we really need here. Maybe more of a passive park with plantings where Viacom can get involved, his little gazebo that Tom said, things like that. But I don't mean it in a disparaging way. I think it's nice. But I think this grand scale to present, and all these agencies that have been involved already that we don't know about, I just think it's too much, and we should try to aim for the area that we can do something with now to clean it up. And DOT should clean that up more than our community. The mess they made on DOT or the bridge people, we should make them clean up the debris. That should be part of their construction project. But I think it's too much for our community, and it will impact emergency services to our island. Thank you.
You know, and thank you for that, because I think that I'm just standing here talking about this because I've talked to a lot of people, and people, you know, have wanted to see something happen, but it's a very amorphous idea. I don't want to own it. I don't want to be the person saying we should do X, Y, or Z, which is why I'm proposing that there be a not-for-profit that's community-based, that represents all of the community, that can hear ideas and decide, you know, what makes sense given all of the island's concerns. You know, I think when the community controls something, they can decide. What about a boat rental of 5 boats? Not a lot of people are going to come for 5 boats, but it still is 5 boats that people in the community can rent out and go out and use, because not everybody owns a kayak. You know, there are things that the community could decide to do that make sense, that mitigate traffic, or just decide to make it a passive park. I don't want to be the one to decide, but I am glad that I'm here creating an opportunity for people like you to voice their ideas, because that's what needs to happen. We all need to talk about it and then do something so that we're doing what's best for City Island, and it's not just sitting there rotting, looking terrible.
And you can wait forever for DOT to clean it up.
On the point about DOT, I have talked to them. DOT is not interested in the site. They're not going to spend another dime. They don't want to beautify it. It's not in their budget. You know, we could pressure the city to spend money, but by the time they come around and spend their money on what we want them to do, I cannot tell you when that's going to be, and it's not going to be DOT, that's for sure.
Yeah, but they should restore it the way they restored the opposite side.
Well, yes, exactly. Our elected representatives should
That's
get
Parks
involved.
Department.
And that was one of the reasons why we were going out and talking to people, saying, hey, what could you do to help make this place turn it around?
Well, they had $600,000, and they could immediately build a dog park, so I could try to get that money.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
No, the dog park the community didn't want. They didn't want it.
But I'm saying the $600,000 sounds like a great idea to me.
I'm not going to say no.
So maybe just have a passive park there, and it cleaned up, and it kind of solved that
Well,
problem.
remember, though, for 100 years, this was a boat rental property when it was all owned, presumably, by Rosenbergers. Yeah.
But it wasn't public. It was a
Huh? Oh, I know that. I know that.
Do you have a question?
More of a statement. So, the 2 things I always hear about City Island in the last couple of years is that, one, because of the development, we're constantly at risk of losing that quaint New England town feel, right? And the second thing I always hear is that there's not enough foot traffic to support small businesses. And it seems to me that what Linda's talking about here would neatly solve both of those issues. My question is, would there, to address Kathy's point, would there be an environmental impact study, and would there be an economic study to see what kind of business this could actually generate? Thank you.
I believe that there should be a study, because these are all important issues, and I think none of us is expert at being able to forecast what the potential, and there are people who know how to do this, but they may also live on City Island. It's amazing the number of resources that we have here, so we should find out if there are people who do this kind of studies for a living, if they'd be willing to do it for free for us, and we could have that, you know, resource made available to us, because they're not cheap, and normally the government does it when a permit is needed. And I unless we want to do something that requires a permit and to go through, you know, state or city agencies, I doubt that we're going to be required to do it, and then if we were, we would have to pay for it anyway. So those are, I mean, but I think a study to look at impacts is a really important idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
It's no doubt that City Island has a unique character, and we'll want to preserve it. Every summer, we are visually raped by the traffic on Islanders.
Whoa.
Now here, who
No
crowd
restaurant
our
owners
streets,
here.
race up and down the avenue, causing traffic jams, making it miserable for us residents to enjoy this quaint little island. We have a number of yacht clubs here, a number of boat clubs, a number of marine facilities that can certainly handle anybody that wants to go out in a kayak. If there was a market for that, all the yacht clubs would be marketing kayaks. City Island Yacht Club has kayak racks. There are a couple of people who actually use them.
And how much are the dues? This is,
My opinion is, as a kayaker, although I haven't done it, is there would be interest in a kayak. But all I say is, everybody just have an open mind. It's
Yeah.
going to be years. We're all going to be batting around ideas and studying it.
Major problem as an architect and developer of many projects. Where's the parking for the off-island?
maybe we won't get any.
Parking there for the number of people.
At the moment, there's no parking, there's just a lot. There's no
This
parking.
project, not done. This project that you see is an immature conception, in that it doesn't provide for one of the basic tenets of planning, and that is parking for the use of the facility. Until you solve that, there's no project. Fred Seaman used to work for me. She's terrific. And I'm sure part of this is her doing, although I don't think she cares much about umbrellas, but I'm much greater than that. But a little bit of eyewash does not solve the myriad of problems that come with a project like this. The primary one being, we should not be bringing more people onto the island in the spring, summer, and fall months than already occupy our streets.
Thank you for bringing up the issue that I know is on everybody's mind.
If I could just interject, we're pushing on 9:30, so I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to look to couch a lot of this stuff for next month's meeting, because people are leaving. So we're going to take 2 more questions, please.
Whatever you'd
Okay,
like
yeah,
to do
because
is
this is
fine
an
with
important
me.
issue. It's an important issue for people.
This is all of our issues.
No, and in this passion and on a lot of different sides.
It's also early
I want to
days.
get some of it out, but we are getting late. So we'll take 2 more questions, and we're going to couch a lot for next month.
I see 2 hands.
Yeah.
Is the gazebo for denizens, or is it to replace the police gazebo?
Wait, the gazebo was my idea. Don't ask her about, I just thought something that would make the garden look nice and give it a small town feel. It
But
was
is
just,
it, remember the police substation in Hawkins?
no, have you ever been in a town where there's a
That
little
was
gazebo and you
100 years
mention
ago.
music, and maybe there's a little 3-piece band on the gazebo playing some music?
Rent Back to the Future, the gazebo in the middle of
Yeah,
town.
so it's just to be a decorative item. It's just a spur of the moment idea.
Just an idea. Beverly?
So I just want to take a minute. I love this idea. And part of it is because I have a 6-year-old. He's growing up on City Island. He's... Sorry, I didn't think that would be offensive.
Yes,
Thank you, Stephanie. He's 6. He's the future of City Island. He and the Cub Scouts who are meeting right now, they should have the opportunity to get merit badges in water ecology. Right? They're city islanders, and they ought to have the opportunity to interact with the city ecology, to learn how to kayak, to learn how to canoe. This is an awesome opportunity for islanders, old, young, new to the island, been here forever, to be able to use our natural environment and use our water resources in a new and exciting way that might not be accessible to everybody now. And that's why I think that this is a great opportunity. Thank you.
Last question in the
Thank
back.
you. Could I just say one
Yeah.
thing in response to that? Because you were talking about children and use of the site, and folks were talking about how many people might come in and concerns about that. And I wanted to just go back to the community control. When we have a lease with the city to do this, we can decide when it's open, when it's closed. You know, these are important tools we would have as a community to determine, you know, how it gets used, what is on the site, how often it's open, and I just wanted to mention that so that people could understand it's not a situation where we don't have control, where it's a public park or it's a privately owned site and anybody can do what they want and lease it to whoever want. This would be the community that would decide how it gets used, and I think that's very important. So sorry, yes.
All right, last question, and then we must move on. It's getting way late. We're going way late. We had one in the back.
So I am only talking about the portion that the city has told me they own and that they could lease. Not anything having to do with the private property owner.
Anything in that depiction that shows the house and pier.
Not
city owned at all.
No, so the pier is privately owned. The shack next to the pier is privately owned. The house itself is on property that the city says it owns and that is available for lease. And I know that there are some people who don't believe that. There's probably going to be some conversation between those folks and the city. But all I know is the conversations I've had with the city and what they say. What's privately owned is what is a lot, and that taxes are being paid on it. Whatever is not a defined city lot and nobody's paying taxes on it, that's not privately owned.
How big an area is it?
I'm sorry, the total area? It's approximately about 75 to 100 feet by 60 feet in length. But it's oddly shaped, so it's hard to tell. So it goes on further than that. I'm probably drawing the largest contiguous space, and then it moves to the left. So it's not insignificant.
Thank you for your time. No. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We are losing folks in droves. So I'm gonna make a.
All right, any other business that we have pending, I make a motion, we table it to the next meeting. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor?
Quick question.
All right, folks.
I have a question for one of those things.
Okay, go ahead.
In the interest of transparency, in the appointment of the new executive board, could you tell me why Dan Triber wasn't invited to rejoin the executive board for the next year?
Let me explain. We annually, a board is reappointed from scratch.
Yes.
And people threw, the officers threw the names in. We had a list of 15, 16, whatever names, and a ballot. It was a secret ballot, and that was the vote. Those who ended up on, and the existing board members were re-voted on. So everybody was everybody gets thrown out, and it's all re-voted. And it was a secret ballot, and anybody who threw a name in the hat went on that ballot.
Thank you. I appreciate the transparency.
You're welcome for the transparency. Folks, get home safe. Have a great night. Stay safe.
No, it's fine. They can wait.